What made you decide to make the transition from doing it as just a hobby, earning a bit of cash, having a bit of fun, whatever, to actually doing it as a career and following that path?
It's a long story, but essentially I realized that I could start making money from this because I saw other people doing it. My granddad would have massive, massive wins. You know, my granddad would send me round to the betting shop at like 12 years old to collect his winnings. Sometimes I would collect £600–700. At 12 years old, that's an insane amount of money. I'm surprised he even let me go and collect it, but my family in the area I grew up in were quite well known. I was well known, I was respected, so I guess he didn't worry about me getting robbed. But thinking about it right now, it's like 12 years old carrying £700. This day and age, I don't think he would let me do it.
That time in London as well.
Yeah,
that was like, what were the years roughly? 2000, mid
what, when I'm 10 and 12?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, 2005 or something? I'm just guessing, like maybe around there. Yeah, 2005, 2006. It was a dangerous time in London.
Not the best of places during that time, yeah.
But like I said, I was known in Waterloo. We was known, my family, so it was cool, right? But, you know, ever since I was 12, 13 years old, I was collecting £600–700 of my granddad's winnings. So instantly I was like, oh, like you can make money from this, right? Because I think most people's introduction to gambling is like losing money. Whereas mine was collecting £700, which is like £7 million at 12 years old, and bringing it back to my granddad, and he'd just give me £50. He'd say, yeah, here you go, James, thanks for that. Here's £50, because he couldn't be bothered to walk around a betting shop. So even from early, from 12, 13 years old, I kind of had a positive mindset about gambling, and I knew that you could make money. And obviously over the years, when I started getting older, I started really betting myself. I lost a lot of money. Initially, you know, for the first 5, 6 years, I didn't win anything. I actually lost a lot. You know, there's many, many stories in there I can think of where I lost almost my whole life savings because I just put it on one fighter or one team or one horse to win. But, you know, as I just continued gambling. I carried on gambling. I never really stopped. I met other people who my granddad knew who were professional gamblers. I was around the industry since a kid, so I knew people making money from it. So I knew it wasn't impossible. And then I started reading up about ways to make it. Because for the first 5 years, I was just betting on who I think was going to win. I had no strategy. I had no bankroll management.
That's what everyone does.
Yeah, like what everyone still does to this day, right? There's only a small selection of people who actually treat gambling properly.
They bet with their heart, I think, as you say.
Yeah, people bet on their favorite team, which is like the most stupid thing you can ever do.
No research or anything.
Yeah, nothing. And that's what I was doing for 5, 6 years, right? Oh, this guy's going to win, so I'm going to bet on him. But then I started getting a bit smarter. I turned 17, 18 years old. My mind wised up a little bit. And then I started reading up about arbitrage betting, which is a form of betting which is basically guaranteed to make money. You can't lose. But the returns that you get, 0.2% of your stake, right? 1%. So if you're putting £100 down, you get £1, right? Which is not a lot of money. So you can't really earn a lot of money from that unless you have a big amount of money to play with initially. And then there's all stake restrictions and stuff you have to go through. But around 17, 18, I started to read up about professional gambling, arbitrage gambling, raw in bookmaker promotion, stuff like that. And then, but throughout this time, I was still gambling. And when I made the true transition to doing it professionally was when I started betting on mixed martial arts. I started betting on mixed martial arts because of you. I started training mixed martial arts because of you. And then I started to bet on the sport because I was already gambling all the time. So I was like, oh, well, this is this new sport I've fallen in love with, MMA. I'm already a gambler. Obviously, I'm going to gamble on this sport. It's just what you do, right? I was already a gambler. Now I love MMA. I put the two together. And at this point, I had already started to be a lot smarter with my gambling. So I had started to implement bankroll management, stuff like that. But I was still at the early stages. I still wasn't that smart, but I was starting to be a bit smarter. And then long story short, I noticed that I had an edge, which means I had an edge over the bookmakers. I could make money from MMA. I realized that MMA was the weakest market out of any sport market. You know, maybe there's some crazy table tennis market out there that I don't know of, but for the most part, MMA is the easiest market to make money on. 2 reasons why. One, because it's so volatile. Anything can happen. It's a fight, right? And it's one-on-one. So if someone just breaks their pinky, well, now they might quit in a fight. So that's such a volatile thing to happen. The bookmakers can't price that into their odds. It's very hard for them to do that.
There's been many upsets. I've watched with you crazy things.
Crazy upsets. People getting knocked out. Like Leon Edwards knocks out Kamaru Usman in the 5th round after being dominated for 5 rounds. It's very hard for the bookmakers to price these type of things in.
Yeah.
It's very volatile, so you can make a lot of money from that volatility. You know, people shy away from volatility, but it's actually one of the best attributes you have as a gambler. And so that's one reason why MMA is the easiest market to make money on. And then also because it's so new. MMA is a new sport. It's only been around for 25 years maximum, right? Whereas football's been around for hundreds of years. So like, it's the bookmakers know about that sport a lot more, right? It's a lot more publicized. Whereas MMA, they're still learning about it. There's still a lot of things they don't know. To this day in 2023, there's edges that appear in different sports books that I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars off just from one specific mistake that a bookie has made for 6 months to a year or something. So it's a bit of a long answer. I don't even know what your question was, but that's how I started to get into MMA gambling, and that's how I made the transition from hobby to professional.
Nice.
When I basically started to implement gambling theory and when I started to make real money, I was like, all right, there's something here. I don't know if you remember this, but when we was traveling throughout New Zealand back in 2016, 2017 times, I paid for my whole trip through gambling only. I went swimming with dolphins in Kaikoura. I was buying at top restaurants every night. I was paying for both of us as well at the time because we didn't have a lot of money. And all of that came from gambling. So when this was happening, I was like, I can do something with this. And then from there...
Even I earned on that road trip, I remember.
Yeah, I told you.
We was as broke as anything. We had like, what, $10 to the name. And I remember specifically, it was Justin Gaethje. Did he fight Cerrone?
Cerrone, yeah. That was a different road trip we
I remember
did, but
that specific fight. You told me to put all my money on, was it Gaethje?
Yeah, Gaethje knockout, yeah.
Obviously, I ain't got a clue
Gaethje
about
knockout
betting at all.
At plus 100, I think.
Yeah, you told me to do that. So I put all of my money. I had like a few dollars.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, it happens what you said. Now I've got $200. And back then, that was a lot of money for a road trip. So
now, I'm just going to say, you should never put all of your money on one selection. But this was a very specific time in our lives where we was on a road trip, desperate times. We had no money. I wasn't telling Tom to become a professional gambler and to set aside a bankroll and all that.
I needed money for an
He needed
Airbnb
money then, and I was like, all right.
We had no bed.
Gaethje's going to get this knockout, so bet on Gaethje and we're going to be sweet.
We can sleep on a bed tonight.
Yeah, don't do that if you're listening, but it worked for us that one time.
Nice, nice. So basically, you just saw like a hole in the MMA game in terms of betting, and you just capitalized on it.
Yeah, like I said, I was already a decent gambler, even though I lost a lot of money. I was starting to learn, and I saw there was a massive gap in the MMA market, in the sports betting market, and I've exploited it. And to this day, there's still the gap. I don't know if the gap's going to be there forever. That's why I'm diversifying my wealth and stuff, because at the end of the day, it's hard enough to make money on sports betting, as you know, by the amount of times I've used your details for bets and everybody else that we know.
Got a lot of emails, a lot of angry emails I got.
So it's hard to make money in sports betting. So I'm definitely diversifying my money. But to this day, touch wood, I'm still able to make a good amount of money from betting on MMA. So hopefully it continues.
Nice.